My mission is to live a life of joy and passion and bring joy into the lives of others. And self-love can only come if the person is validated. Worry is not a clever choice, and stress is optional. It's a habit that's learned. So show me a warrior, and I can show you a mother or father who was a warrior. I'm so happy that your opinion of me is none of my business. I don't see problems.
Right.
I just see issues to make decisions on.
Yeah.
We have two choices in life.
Yes.
Either to function powerfully or function powerlessly.
Yeah.
Happiness is a choice.
Welcome to the electrifying world of Anne-Marie's Impact. I am Anne-Marie Emmanuel, and nothing excites me more than having thrilling and unfiltered discussions with real people who are fueled by the unstoppable force of passion. Get ready to elevate and dominate your life, both personally and professionally, through the power of self-love. Come along with me on this transformative journey as we move from inner lack to inner lush together.
Welcome to another episode of Anne-Marie's Impact. In this episode, I'm introducing Dr. Winthrop Wiltshire, an extraordinary individual at 86 years young, whose life epitomizes the essence of passion and purpose. With a distinguished PhD in chemistry, he has not only contributed significantly to the field, but also embraced the role of compassionate re-evaluation counselor, guiding others towards mental well-being. As a Reiki Master, he harnesses the power of energy healing, touching the lives of many. Beyond academia, his vibrant spirit finds expression through exuberant dance, reflecting his zest for life. With a plethora of publications and invited talks, his influence extends far and wide, leaving an indelible mark on those he encounters. Help me in welcoming Dr. Winthrop Wiltshire. Welcome to the show.
It's good to hear those things about myself. Yeah. I didn't really know.
And that's just a few, right? There's quite a bit of things that I left off here, right? So absolutely thrilled to have you on the show after I've been trying for, over 6 months.
Over a year.
And the reason that it was difficult is because you live in
Grenada.
So I had to time you whenever you're here for some reason or not.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. So I want to start by talking about the work that we did on my second book, Empower, which was a book that talked about reframing position, power, and purpose for men. And you were actually the sage in that experiment, right? Meaning that you were the one that had the most life experience and wisdom. So it was really a pleasure to have you. So what was that experience like for you?
That was a very important initiative of yours, actually, because I felt strongly about this issue for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And I noticed how young boys are socialized. Mm-hmm. And one of the issues with the socialization of young boys, with mothers and fathers and teachers doing the best that they can, they program young boys not to express emotions. Mm-hmm. So a young boy is told, big boys don't cry.
Yeah.
So the only legitimate emotion for a young boy to show is toughness, aggression, and then everybody's surprised when they become a man and they marry and they want to beat their wives and beat the children, you know?
Exactly, exactly. And that was one of the main reasons that I wanted to do the Empower book as well, because we're living in a time where we're seeing the results of not expressing your emotions and not being able to be the person that you truly are. And I think that men have been assaulted in our society because of that. And then, like you said, everybody's wondering why are men doing it? Why are men angry? Why are they, doing the things that they're doing?
But I was
Hello.
I was very lucky. I was never prevented from showing vulnerability as a young boy. So I cried easily, and if I
Right.
felt hurt.
You have some really good parents,
Yes.
I have to say. Or whoever were in charge of,
I
grooming
remember
you into
I
an
went
adult.
I went to Barbados at the age of 12 to go to school, and got very attached to one of my cousins. And she said something that hurt me, and I cried and cried, and I couldn't tell anybody what I was crying for, but they just allowed me to cry.
Just letting your emotions.
Yeah.
And no one stopped you. That's the important thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So so in that interview, you shared that men and women function most powerfully when they maintain their energetic and emotional center. But how would someone do that?
By being mindful, by being mindful. So often we give away our power unwittingly.
Right. Yeah.
So, for example, nobody can make you angry.
Exactly.
Anger is a response to something.
Right.
And you can choose to be calm and centered and tell somebody else what you did was inappropriate.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I have a saying, I developed a saying. Somebody says, Winthrop, you're a damn ass. I look at them and smile and say, I'm so happy that your opinion of me is none of my business. And I disempower them immediately.
So that's like controlling reactivity
Exactly.
and impulsivity
They can't control
at every moment. That's mindfulness, right?
They can't
Just
control my
yeah.
reaction.
And understanding that you have the power to choose. I love that.
Exactly.
You
Choice is so critical.
Yeah, it's amazing how hard that is for us to do that because we weren't trained in society to do that.
No, we
And
are not.
even within myself, I have to make those moment by moment choices of how if I'm going to react to something or if I'm going to respond to something that someone says to me.
Of course, because it's a constant work in progress.
Right. Do you think that Reiki is also a good medium for?
Wow.
Because I know that you're a Reiki Master.
Right, Reiki.
And in case I didn't mention that.
Reiki is so powerful because apart from hands-on healing or even distant healing, which I teach,
Right.
Reiki is so powerful because Reiki has 5 precepts. Okay, Dr. Usui, who developed Reiki in the 1920s in Japan, he brought us 5 precepts. Just for today, do not worry. Just for today, do not anger. Be kind to others. Earn your living honestly. Show gratitude. And a variant of be kind to others is honor your parents, teachers, and elders. This is how Mrs. Staccato brought it to the West. But when you think of just for today, do not worry. Wow. And you recognize worry is a choice.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have to worry.
And I love the just for today because it's like not saying, don't worry in life. It's saying just for today. And then tomorrow you get to choose that again. Just for today.
That is in the recognition that all we ever have is the present moment.
Exactly.
Life is a series of continuous now moments.
Now. It's a now phenomenon, right?
Right.
I love that.
But in terms of Reiki, my personal mission statement, which I developed many years ago, my mission is to live a life of joy and passion and bring joy into the lives of others while assisting them to heal physically, spiritually, and emotionally.
Right.
So that's one of the things I do through Reiki and through reevaluation counseling.
Wow. How did you get involved with Reiki?
That's an interesting story.
I love stories. Especially.
One of my sisters working at Valley View Hotel came out of her office very quickly and the floor was wet and she slipped. And went out. She had to be hospitalized, couldn't walk. And one of my sisters went to the hospital, community hospital, and put her hands on her and felt very weak as a result because she was using her own key.
Yes.
And she told my sister Rosina in Canada about it. And Rosina says, well, I'm going to do something called Reiki. And you don't use your own key. Use the energy that's all around you, universal life energy. So when you come up here on vacation next month, you can come and do the class.
Wow.
And when she did that class, she came back to Trinidad. She was an accountant at TNT. And the teacher, when Rosina was doing the second level, which allows you to stay where you are and treat anybody where they are by distance, just using your hands, the teacher said, well, if Halcyon brings me to Trinidad, I can do second degree with her and teach a class. So the first class in Trinidad in 1994, 7th of January to the 9th, was taught in my uncle's house in Woodbrook by that Reiki Master who came from Canada. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And then and there, just one weekend, I decided I'd become a Reiki Master.
Wow. And you had mentioned key before. Can you explain what that is for
Or
our
key,
audience?
or the key, some people call it key, the Chinese call it chi, or the Indians call it chi.
Right.
That is your internal energy center, your powerhouse.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But if you put your hands on somebody who's ill, using your own chi, your own key, you get depleted.
You deplete your own.
But when you do
Right.
Reiki,
Yeah. So you draw from the source rather than from your own.
and Reiki, I teach medical doctors Reiki, I teach everybody Reiki.
Right.
And if you Google hospitals and Reiki in the United States, you'll see how many hospitals are routinely using Reiki as a
Using it now.
complementary therapy.
Was there a time that was not accepted as
And
part
Reiki has
of-
brought me to Grenada, by the way.
Really? I
Oh,
was
yes.
wondering why you left Trinidad.
In 2002, St. George's
Right.
University, which is very strong on complementary medicine, was
okay.
doing a seminar on complementary medicine, and someone told them they have to have Reiki. They said, well, find a Reiki person. So they looked on the internet and they found my sister Lynette, and she says, not me, it's Winthrop. So they brought me to Grenada, put me up at a posh hotel, and brought me early. So I taught
Yes.
several students and professors Reiki, and I gave the seminar.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then 5 years later, I went back to teach a class on my own.
Right.
And the person organizing the class said, I have 12 students. I said, great, 150 US per student. Pay for my airfare, my hotel bill. I come back to Trinidad with some change. When I got it, she says, I only have 3 students. I said, no problem, the universe is organizing. The 3 students were her partner from England. So somebody called Marion Sweet, who used to be an economist at Cariri, was now a lawyer in Grenada.
Right.
And there was only one Grenadian, a Grenadian woman. And the short story is I had no option but to go back and marry her. That's a short story.
Oh my God, and you're still married.
And I'm still married. And after I was there for a few months, I called the university and said, I'm
Right.
here. They said, you're here? But you could help us out with Reiki. So I used to go in every term and introduce
wow.
the medical students to Reiki. And they used to pay me 100 US. And then 5 years later, 2011, and 3 years later, I got an email, Dr. Wiltshire, we have a crisis. We need a PhD to teach chemistry. Can you have an interview with the dean? I negotiated with full professor, and the rest is history.
So you were destined to be
Exactly.
in
Until last year, I was full professor.
I'm
teaching.
glad you explained that because I was kind of jealous that, why isn't he in Trinidad? Because you were born here, right?
Of course, of course.
You're a Trinidadian. So in the last few years, there's been an opening up of conversation around emotional intelligence, and especially with men. So what can we do as a society to make our men feel safe, to feel seen, to feel understood? Because I think a lot of men have been feeling misunderstood a lot in society,
It's so important.
even among each other.
Yes, okay. It is true we have to start from where we are, but it's so important to begin with young boys.
Yeah.
It's so important for parents to be educated, for them to recognize that it's okay to, as we were saying, to allow a young boy to express himself, to express his emotions, all kinds of emotions. And we have to have focus groups for men. Okay?
Right.
Men in prison, for example, they need psychological counseling
Right.
to know that, for instance, they're okay. For instance, in terms of socialization of young boys, when a young boy does something wrong, it is so important for the corrector, for the parent, for the teacher, to let him know, you are beautiful, you are good, what you did was wrong.
The action.
You are not bad.
Your behavior is
Your
is what's-
behavior
yeah.
is bad.
Exactly.
In fact, I co-created a program in Trinidad, changing the culture of the classroom. So the school closed down for 2 days. It was funded by UNESCO. And I did a workshop with the teachers. There was another person doing another set of workshops. And one teacher, we did a follow-up workshop 1 day later, several months later. One teacher told me one little child, a girl, came to her. She had done something negative and was corrected.
Right.
And she came to her the next day and says, "Teach, how did I behave today?"
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
It was probably the first time that teacher had validated her.
Yes.
Corrected her, but validated her. And she
Right.
came back for another validation, you know?
Validation. Positive, right?
Because validation is so critical
Yes.
when you're young.
Yes. I do a lot of work with children in the community, and there are a lot of young boys that I've been there as a mentor for, and I also work with the children on teaching them self-worth, self-esteem, and self-love. Do you think, this is how I feel like I cannot be that person for these young men in terms of teaching them these emotional intelligence and stuff like that. But it's so hard to find male mentors. What can I do in terms of, not turning my back on these young men? What can I do to help the situation as a female?
Anne-Marie's Impact is filmed at the Cheryl's Grace Enrichment Center in Las Cuevas, which includes an event space and the cozy Cheryl's Grace Terralark lodging. Find us on airbnb.com.
Well, the first thing you have to recognize is that you're doing a fantastic job and you cannot change the entire world. But you just continue doing what you are doing. For instance, one of the important lessons a young person needs to know is that there's never a good reason to feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
That's so key. But you can change the world one at a time.
Right.
You cannot change everybody and you cannot do everything.
Right.
But the most important thing for you to be aware of is not to be hard on yourself. Because what tends to happen is the 80%, 20% half full, half empty. You're doing a lot. In fact, let me jump back to something I did way back when in the States at a workshop. I called it the 5% syndrome. I was doing a workshop on power, making people powerful. Okay, at that workshop.
Right.
And I said, how many of you are doing so much in a given area, but you're lacking, you haven't done a certain amount, and all you're focusing on is what you have not done, as opposed to focusing on all that you have done.
Right.
So I call it the 5% syndrome. And then in Trinidad, before I left for Grenada, every week I used to do a workshop with a set of people who were in revulsion counseling,
Right.
many of them were teachers. And the first question I asked is, what did you do powerfully this week? So focus on your powerfulness and not on your powerlessness.
Yeah.
That is so key.
Thank you so much for that, because I tend to, and I love that you said I cannot fix or take care or help everyone. And sometimes I tend to not look at what I'm doing, because what I am teaching them is very fundamental and it's the foundation of life. So it doesn't matter what gender they are, because self-love, I have a saying that everything begins and ends with self-love. So every human being needs to learn that foundation of self-love, which promotes self-esteem, self-worth, and all of those things. So I am doing my share of what needs to be done. And I'm glad that you mentioned that I need to focus on my powerfulness and what I'm doing and what I'm creating for them.
And self-love can only come if the person is validated.
All right.
And the important thing in terms of what you are doing is if even they are validated 99 times, your one validation is going to make a difference.
Right. And I see it with the kids. I see it. I see, how they feel about themselves. I see the joy. I see the enthusiasm for them. Because when I drive through the village, when is the next class? Miss Emmanuel, when is the next class? When are we doing it again,
Yeah.
So I see that. And that's validation that it's something that they are interested in. Yes.
Very important, very important.
So thank you for that. So I want to go to cricket now. When I think about you, I think about a theme of batting life for 6. And I am not too familiar with cricket, but I know that is something that you often come to Trinidad for. Cricket, you love the sports. What do you love so much about cricket?
My wife tells me, well, cricket is my foremost passion. And my wife tells me that when I was setting the date for us to get married, I checked the West Indies cricket schedule to determine. I don't remember that, but that would have been routine. I wouldn't want to miss a test match, a different test match. Cricket excites me.
Yeah.
And West Indian cricket. And what I have been able to do is to take away the emotions from it. So I get excitement at a kind of intellectual level. So many of my colleagues who used to be passionate about cricket say, no, I give up the West Indies. I'm not looking at them. They disappoint me too often. The West Indian team does never disappoints me. I see what nonsense they're doing. I said, okay, they could do that differently. They could,
right.
And I look forward to the next game.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have been able to channel to only get happiness,
right.
joy from cricket. Yeah. When West Indies is playing in India, the game starts at midnight. I stay from midnight to 6 o'clock in the morning looking at cricket. And let me correlate that with a Reiki story, a phenomenal Reiki story.
Right.
My wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. The operation was scheduled for the following Tuesday. She's driving, I'm in the passenger seat. The doctor calls her and says, I'm so sorry, my wife has an accident in Miami, I have to go away. When I come back, I'll reschedule the operation.
On her way to, she was on her way to the...
No, she is driving. I'm in the passenger seat.
Right.
The surgeon calls her, the oncologist calls her.
Got it.
And she starts to cry, okay? Because the operation has to be postponed because you really cut off her breast. India is playing the West Indies. I put the Reiki table on. I put my hands on her breast at midnight for 2 hours straight. My hands got so hot. My hands got really hot. I said, something has shifted.
Energy.
By the time the doctor came back, the breast cancer had disappeared. She needed an operation. He redid the biopsy. He redid the ultrasound. Okay? The Reiki dealt with the breast cancer. However, having said that, I cannot tell anybody that Reiki will heal breast cancer or cure breast cancer.
Yeah.
Because the Reiki does what it does.
Right.
Okay? This universal life energy, this energy that is so powerful.
Right.
I mean, saved her, and she still has a beautiful 2 breasts now.
Beautiful. What a beautiful story.
Oh, yeah.
I really want to get back to what you said about the, your non-attachment to the game, because it's a perfect example of practicing non-attachment versus detachment.
Exactly.
Because you say your friends, they get to a point of resignation where they don't even want to watch the game anymore. And the whole thing about the game is way more than
they say my heart can't take it. My heart can't take it. They say my heart can't. And I understand. I understand. Right. But you asked me a fundamental question. What excites me about cricket? Cricket is a metaphor for life.
For life. But don't you think all sports,
especially Test cricket.
Don't you think all sports?
Well, not really. In a Test match, endurance, discernment, the vicissitudes, the changing fortunes
Right.
of the game, you know,
Right.
the critical thinking of the captain of the batter, the batsman, which ball to play, which ball to leave alone. I mean, there are so many variables. So I tell people, what is important is the process and not necessarily the outcome.
Right, exactly. If you're not attached to the outcome, then you will get
Of course, I love
the
to
jewels.
win. Of course, I love to win.
We all love to win. But I have to stress my point of, I think all sports offer that in some way. It's like a metaphor for life, because it's the same thing, you know, it's the strategies, the moves you have to make, you know, it just changes from one sport to another. But I know you love your cricket, so we're not going to continue.
I don't know if you consider athletics a sport, but I would put a 100-meter dash in that category.
I would, because I used to run 100-meter dash, and that's the same thing that I got. What you were explaining, that's the same thing that I got. And that's the only sport that I actually would die to watch in the Olympics or anything else. Take everything else away, but don't take my track and field. So I think I'm
passionate about Olympics.
I'm very passionate about track and field. And I feel the same way. And I think I've reached a stage of non-attachment as well. I just love the race. And when the race is over, it doesn't matter to me who won it. I just love the race. It puts me back into that place of ready, set, go. You know, you're on there and, you know, your heart is pounding. You want to urinate on yourself at that moment and and, you know, you take off and you go. And so that's what I watch it to get, you know, to really remember what that feeling felt like, that competitiveness.
Fair enough.
And I used to win a lot, so
great.
maybe if I didn't win a lot, I wouldn't want to watch it. It would make me sad. But I used to remember my winnings and all of that. So yeah. So you're living a full and passionate life. You know, what secrets can you share with the viewers on keeping grounded, healthy, and inspired? I know you share some of them already.
Worry is not a clever choice, and stress is optional.
I love that about
choice
worry.
Is so key.
Choice.
When you recognize you have choice, you know?
Why is it that most human beings don't recognize that they have choice?
That's not the way we're socialized. That's not the way we're socialized.
And worries like drinking poison.
I got up one morning years ago. I recognized Winthrop. You don't worry. It felt good. It was several years later that I developed the framework. So now I teach people how not to worry.
Not to worry.
How not to worry.
Yeah. I know you have several webinars on that.
Because many people worry and they don't know precisely what it is.
Yeah, no, it becomes habitual. It's a habit. It's a toxic habit.
Not only is it a habit, it's a habit that's learned. So show me a warrior, and I can show you a mother or father who is a warrior.
Yeah.
It's learned by contagion.
It is. One part of the process in my workshop is discovering those personalities that are hijacking and running your life. And one of those personalities is the worry wart. And so by personality, some people have it. They've been doing it for so many years. It's toxic, and it's running their life. And it's such a painful place to be when you don't understand that you can choose not to worry, because worry does not change the outcome of any situation. In fact, it makes it worse, because your energy is focused on whatever it is you don't want to happen, you know? So if you can switch the focus on what you want to see happen, you can create something
of course
more positive.
I was teaching a workshop in Grenada with teachers. The workshop was empowering teachers with emotional coping skills so that they would, in fact, relate in a more validating way to their charges, the young charges. And I was dealing with the issue of worry. And one teacher in her 40s said, as long as you're human, you have to worry. So I decided to get her. I confess I was very naughty. Grenada is a very religious country. I said, how many of the 25 teachers, how many of you go to church regularly? Everybody put up their hand. I said, if you go to church regularly and you worry, you're all hypocrites. They were shocked.
That's what I said.
They were shocked.
I often wonder, and a lot of people who are very, very religious, they worry the most. Like,
You
how
can't
could you
believe
put
in God and
something
worry.
in God's hands and then worry about it?
The two are mutually exclusive. They pay lip service to believing in God.
Yes.
But they don't really internalize what
they
that
don't,
means. Yeah.
They really don't have
The birds of the
that-
field don't worry.
the faith. Yeah. They don't understand what faith is really. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, one of the things I found out about you is that you like to dance. And that's another commonality that we have.
That's right.
I mean, I saw a little video on you dancing, and I mean, at 86 years old, you're really pretty good. You got moves.
I love to dance.
Do you think that contributes to your spirit of youthfulness? And
Well, it doesn't contribute, it's a manifestation of.
okay, I love to dance, and I one of the reasons I've been forcing myself to dance lately is because I think it contributes, but I love what you say. It's a manifestation of.
I was downstairs.
I can manifest longevity.
I was downstairs here, they started to play some music. I want to get up and dance.
Oh my God. Can we dance after this?
Oh, by all means. I did a workshop in St. Kitts, changed the culture of the classroom, and I told them about my dancing with teachers.
Right.
And they said, well, can you demonstrate? I said, sure. So after we finished the workshop, they put on music and I danced down the place.
Oh my God, I can't wait because I absolutely love dancing. I think it's just, it raises our vibration between dance and music. It's like nothing can raise your vibration.
I feel
as
joy
fast.
when I'm dancing.
Yeah, because you're in that vibration, that frequency that,
And I'm sure that when I'm 100, I'll be dancing just like that.
I hope so, for me too. By the way, will you ever retire?
Retirement, I insist, retirement is an event and not a state of being.
Right.
People talk about I retire and they define themselves in terms of their previous job. In 1993, I went to a workshop on reversion counseling in the States and met the leader, Harvey Jackins. He met me for the first time. He said, what do you do? I said, I play table tennis on Wednesdays and I swim on Saturdays. He says, I mean, what do you do for a living? I said, oh, that! I refuse to define myself in terms of a job.
Yes.
And I'm aware of a guy in Antigua, a lot of men, this is another man problem, define them, they get their value from their work. A guy in Antigua retired from the government at 60, and he put on his tie every day and went and stood outside of the office. Because he felt valueless.
Yes.
Yeah.
And think of how much he could have been doing.
So I
if he
retired
didn't do
from UNESCO when I was 60.
Yes.
I say retire goes from something. If
something.
If I'm working on my garden, that's what I'm defining myself as after I've left my 9-to-5 job. Okay?
Yeah.
So I will never retire.
And I agree with you 100%.
A sister of mine says she has retired. T-Y-R-E-D. Put on new tires.
Put on new tires to hit the road.
Exactly. Because when you talk about I've retired, you're defining your past.
Yes.
I retired.
And you're defining a role as well.
And your role, You have to define yourself in terms of what you're doing today.
Exactly. and who you're being.
Who you're
today.
being.
And being has nothing to do with
right.
retirement. Because as long as you're being, you are going to be producing and doing and creating and all of that. And I tell people, I retired from the United States Postal Service. And when that event happened, that's when my life began.
Of course.
The work that I do is sometimes I spend more hours doing this work than that work. And it's so fulfilling, So I agree with you. I don't think retirement from life is for me. I am living. I will not live an unlived life all the way to the end.
Beautiful. So when the dean interviewed me at St. George's University, he says, are you prepared to put Reiki aside and teach some chemistry? So since last year, I am now part-time teaching at SGU. So now I bring back Reiki into the forefront because
Right.
in the last several years, if somebody asked me for a class, I would set up a class, but it wasn't a primary thing.
Right,
Now it's
right.
primary again. Now I'm only teaching part-time, twice a week. Yeah.
Oh, great, great. So I want to challenge you on something. I had asked you before about telling me of a period of endarkenment that you experienced, and you said to me that you don't have any of those. So I really want to challenge you. But what I want to do is reframe the question, maybe.
Okay.
So I want you to think of a time when you were faced with a daunting circumstance in life that would have broken you or would have broken the average person, but it didn't break you or bring you to that low state of depression or so.
The only
What did you do?
Well, I stick to my guns. The only thing I can think of is when I was 14, 15 years old in Barbados, and no money was coming from, I was living with my aunt, me and my two bigger brothers, and no money was coming from Trinidad. And they were saying, send them back home. And I was scared that they would send us back home. So coming home, going home for lunch from school, so when has the money come today? Has the money come today? That lasted for several months.
Wow.
But I didn't really do anything. It just ended at a particular time. But
At the right time.
that is the period of my life when I think I was the lowest. But I don't remember having to do anything. It was just a period of great anxiety, right?
Right, yeah.
But other than that, I've had a really cushion
So
life.
what you're saying is in your adult life, you've really never reached that place.
No, never. No, as an adult.
Wow.
Oh, I have-
Where does that wisdom come from? To be able to cope with life? Because life has vicissitudes, ups and downs, and a lot of times we go to that low place in the gutter because there are lessons there to learn. So is it that you're not seeing those times that happen as a negative thing, or is it that you just had the wisdom to navigate those times?
Okay, when I was 12, I went to Barbados, and my aunt never told me what to do. So I matured very quickly and was able to solve problems. So
Plus,
I think,
you're a mathematician, right? That's hey, and chemistry. I
right,
think
right,
those,
right,
those
right.
things help
So
you
I created a math
resolve
course at
life's
SU.
problems very easily.
No, I'm thinking, I'm trying to work out the answer to your question, because I don't see problems.
Right.
I just see issues to make decisions on.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm not seeing
You
things as
see-
negative.
You see situations.
I'm seeing situations.
Right.
And my
So
my
nothing
options,
is a problem
oh,
to you.
I also feel very strongly. We
Yeah.
have two choices in life.
Yes.
Either to function powerfully or function powerlessly.
Yeah.
And we function powerfully when we're in contact with our energetic and emotional center, and we function powerlessly when we're not.
But you learned that very early in life. You
But
had
just
to
by-
have learned that very early in life.
But I learned it from, well, way back.
Because I
way
understand all those things now,
way
but
back.
I suffered a lot because I didn't understand it, like, in my
35 years
20s,
ago.
30s, and 40s.
35 years ago, I did a career course in Trinidad. And the teacher says, what do you need to be happy? And after everybody said whatever, the correct answer was nothing. Happiness
Just
is a
be.
choice. I internalized that.
Yes, yes.
Happiness is a choice, irrespective of the external circumstances.
Yes. As we were talking about chemistry, so that's another commonality that we have. And you probably don't know this, but in high school, chemistry was my favorite subject. I aced it. I loved everything about it. But for some reason, I wasn't guided in that direction. But I always find myself thinking that one day I am going to wake up at 85 years old or 86 years old and say, okay, I'm going to get my degree in chemistry. What do you think about that? How crazy is that?
It's never too late. Today, Anne-Marie, is the first day of the rest of your life.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that. Because I always envision myself with the graduation cap with my,
Yeah.
PhD in chemistry. because I had loved the subject so much and I was really good at it. So you think I can do that?
Of course. You can do that. And as I say, today is the first day of the rest of your life. I also insist that your history does not have to be your destiny unless you choose to make it so.
Exactly. And then look at all of the life experiences I've gained that
Right.
I can put into that degree.
Of course.
So I think I'll be in a much more powerful place.
And there is no time to start what you want to do. No time better than
The
now.
present time. It's a now phenomena.
Exactly, a now phenomenon. That's right.
I love it. It was just amazing talking with you. We can go on and on and on, and you definitely have to come back on my hot seat.
All right.
But I just really want to thank you so much. Thank you for the positive energy that you give off whenever you're in a space. I want you to thank you for the work that you're doing. I wish you would do some of it here in Trinidad. I really want to thank you for agreeing to do this interview because I think people can really learn a lot about what passion and purpose truly is. And, especially not worrying about things and just taking life lightly, So thank you so much for the being that you are. And we must do this again.
I thank you.
Okay. Take good care. A little deeper. Hey, this episode of Anne-Marie's Impact was sponsored by a former interviewee, Justin Emmanuel, who is an Air Force veteran, a solar technician, and a family man. If you have someone that you'd like to recommend as an interviewee or even a sponsor for this show, please reach out to us. We're always looking for sponsors and interviewees. Thank you.